Take a handful of elegant, immaculate bridesmaids. Allow the vibrant summery scent of petals to perfume the air courtesy of the opulent bouquets lovingly and artistically placed all around. Loved ones gathered excitedly in overwhelming anticipation for the main event, the radiant, flawless bride. There she stands, a vision of ethereal perfection, draped in the finest white satin. She's a sight for sore eyes indeed. But what happens when the fairy tale of this momentous occasion results in a deeply tragic, unforeseen death? It has long been a taboo subject. The idea of a tradition of unity so sacred spiraling into something altogether darker. An occurrence that ordinarily results in a plethora of unanswered questions, all shrouded in mystery and steeped in suspicion at a time that is sold to us at a young age as the happiest day in our lives. It was the early hours of July the 5th, 2005. Handsome young American George Smith disappeared overboard the Royal Caribbean International Cruise Ship, MS Brilliance of the Seas, in highly suspicious circumstances. Just 11 days prior to this terrible end, George had married his glamorous new wife, Jennifer Hagel, and the attractive couple were, at the time of his disappearance, enjoying a lavish honeymoon together. Mystery and intrigue remain rife in this case, as the truth of what really happened to Smith has never been revealed. We do know a significant amount of blood was discovered on the bedsheets in the room George had been sharing with his striking new bride, Jennifer. And at the edge of the ship, a partial, bloody handprint was found, suggesting Smith had been gripping on as tightly as he could before crashing into the freezing, unforgiving waters that would claim him. Jennifer was subsequently questioned by Turkish officials shortly after they found her slumped unconscious in a hallway. The FBI would later become involved also. Since his grisly disappearance, George Smith's family have fought hard to keep this bewildering case open, vehemently believing George was murdered at sea. Jennifer Smith remains adamant that her husband's untimely passing was a terrible accident brought about by intoxication. Others have presented the view that it was a robbery gone wrong. When George wrestled back against his assailants, they murdered him in a grotesque, frenzied panic before callously slinging his lifeless body overboard and fleeing the scene. Perhaps we will never know what became of George Smith, despite Jennifer's monetary offer of $100,000 reward for information leading to arrests. Nobody has ever been held to account, meaning George will likely never receive the justice he so richly deserves. In 2013, 24-year-old Cody Johnson of Montana, America, married his sweetheart, 21-year-old Jordan Graham. Described by those who knew them as an unusual, even mismatched pairing, the young couple had been dating for around a year before tying the knot in front of family and friends. Jordan Graham was perceived as an unlikely choice for Cody, owing to her religious, retiring personality. She took her faith very seriously, including refusing to participate in sex before marriage. It was at church that fateful day when an unsuspecting Cody met his wife-to-be over a lunch the church had been hosting. Cody fell hopelessly, passionately in love with a slightly aloof Jordan, proclaiming to his mother that he had met the girl he would marry one day. Still, views on the couple's courtship remained divided. Some appreciated her religious influence over the young Cody and felt she was a positive partner for him. Others found Jordan highly selfish and believed their relationship to be very one-sided. Cody was immensely open about his adoration for the girl he longed to marry. For him, this was instant. It was real, all-consuming love. He was utterly bewitched by Jordan. In contrast, Jordan would go out of her way to avoid being alone with Cody. She would frequently invite others along on dates with Cody, which onlookers deemed highly unusual and to some extent unnatural. Friends noted how they never saw them hold hands or kiss at get-togethers. So it understandably came as a huge surprise when friends were told of the imminent marriage between the two. Jordan failed to participate in the organisation of the wedding and would become visibly agitated at the mention of the pending nuptials, leaving the majority of the planning to her seemingly unfazed fiancé, Cody. Cody's friends shared a gross dislike of Jordan. They did not trust the girl their dear friend was preparing to spend the rest of his life with, and their suspicions would tragically prove right. A short period after the couple married, cracks in the relationship began to appear in the form of regular fights and fierce arguments. A mere 8 days after they exchanged their vows, Cody and his new bride had been out on a walk in Montana's National Glacier Park when they embarked on yet another tempestuous fight. During the heated war of words, Jordan shoved Cody with such a terrific degree of force, she sent him over a cliff edge where he plunged to his death. Rather than reporting the terrible sequence of events to the police, Jordan Graham coldly drove away from the scene and pleaded ignorance to her young husband's death, despite being the person who found Cody's broken body. Unsurprisingly, police were suspicious of Jordan from the outset, and this only intensified when they discovered a string of text messages Jordan had sent to friends after the death of her husband, disclosing how dissatisfied and unhappy she was with the union. Eventually, Jordan Graham confessed to the killing of her husband, although she insisted the tragedy had been an accident, that she hadn't intended to send her supposedly cherished spouse hurtling over a cliff, that it had been the result of a regretful push. In December 2013, Jordan Graham pleaded guilty to the second-degree murder of her husband, Cody Johnson. She was sentenced to 30 years imprisonment, as Cody's heartbroken family watched on from the gallery. A blissful wedding was the uplifting talk of the town in Northern Ireland back in 2011, for it was the hotly anticipated marriage of the radiant beauty Michaela Harte, a 27-year-old Irish language teacher and beloved daughter of Tyrone, Gaelic football manager, Mickey Harte, and her handsome groom, John McAreavey. After their resplendent wedding ceremony, the enchanting couple took off on a luxurious honeymoon to the stunning Indian Ocean island of Mauritius. In a cruel twist of fate, only one half of the young couple would ever return home again. On the 10th of January 2012, just 12 days after the couple's idyllic wedding, Michaela had ventured to their hotel room to fetch a biscuit to enjoy with her tea, leaving her doting husband content and relaxing beside the pool. Michaela was absent for quite a while, which led to a concerned John returning back to their room to find his bride. When John arrived at the room, he was greeted by the most harrowing sight. His adored wife was lying dead, submerged in a bathtub full of water. Mauritian police officers attended the scene, and a bereft, shocked John was questioned in depth. John was soon after dropped as a suspect after they found he could not possibly have done this heinous crime, and police began interviewing 2 male hotel workers in connection to Michaela's murder. The accused employees were suspected of entering the couple's suite using a master key, fully intending to steal valuables from the pair as they relaxed outside. On being surprised by Michaela, the pair allegedly panicked, strangling Michaela from behind and lifting her poor body into the bath where they callously left her, silencing her forever. Unfortunately, the entire investigation was heavily botched and the 2 hotel staff walked free, acquitted of Michaela's horrendous murder. 2 years later, the exhumation of Michaela's body had been requested when information came to light. In particularly, the claims from the British TV investigator, who suggested the Mauritian authorities may have destroyed crucial security tapes and were potentially aware of DNA belonging to a hotel security guard allegedly discovered on a safe located in the couple's room. Michaela's body was never exhumed, and to this day, the death of this innocent lady remains a disheartening mystery. John McAreavey went on to rebuild his life following the loss of his treasured bride and happily found love again. But just what happened to Michaela, we sadly may never know, meaning somebody out there is walking around free with her blood on their hands, without a single concern that this poor lady was lying motionless in her casket in the very wedding gown she'd joyfully worn such a short time before. It just goes to show with ill-fated honeymoons how quickly two lives who have been joined together in matrimony as one, with such incredible promise ahead of them, a new home together, perhaps the joy of children and even grandchildren, can be so cruelly robbed from the picture, snatched away, rubbed out, destined to leave an irreplaceable void in the lives of many, a gaping hole of disappointment and heartache where love, laughter, hope and light once lived. They say the truth will out, but in these cases where an innocent victim's life has been taken without a single care, is this always true? Or do some wicked perpetrators quite literally get away with murder in the hope the hands of time will eventually erode the person's memory away entirely? It's certainly an unnerving question, but with no evidence available, it appears ever more likely when the fabric of dreams becomes the stuff of nightmares. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, but all the while, don't have nightmares.